One of my favorite Lenten stories, maybe you know the story, talks about an Irishman in Dublin who visits a pub for the very first time. He'd never been there before, and he goes to the bartender and he orders 3 Guinness. The bartender pours them, and the man takes all three, and he goes to a back room in the pub, and he sits and he drinks one after another until he finishes them. Then he goes back to the bar and he orders three more. And the bartender says to him, "Sir, if you order just one at a time, they would be fresher and probably would be better." The man said, "Oh, this is a practice my two brothers and I promised to do. That you see, I've got one brother who moved to America and another who moved to Australia, and we promised that each of us would drink this way, one beer for each, so that we could remember the good times that we'd had together." The guy becomes a regular at the pub, continuing to drink that way, until one day in early March, he comes in and he orders just 2 Guinness. And he takes them back to the back room and he's sipping the two. And the barkeep comes back and says to him, "Sir, I couldn't help but notice that you just had two today. And I had to give you my condolences when I understood what happened. I'm so sorry for your loss." The man said, "Oh, no, my brothers are fine. I'm still drinking two for them. I just gave up drinking for Lent." It's a silly story, but it's a reminder of what we often do during Lent. We give something up. And this Lent, it seems, if you gave something up, maybe it's time to put it back in. If it's helping you to have given it up, stick with it. But there's enough strangeness, enough weirdness happening in our communities right now. So many things that we've given up, direct contact with other people, so many things that have been removed from us. So if you gave up chocolate, and if you gave up wine and you want them, maybe you should bring them back in. And instead find a new practice to add into your Lent this year. Maybe the practice is to do some things that I've heard other people doing. When you're out on a walk with social distance, wave. Wave to everybody you see, whether you know them or not, and bring them a little happiness. Maybe add the practice to reconnect to family members over the phone that you haven't spoken to in ages. Maybe your practice should be to choose somebody that you haven't been connected to, one a day, to make sure you speak to them. Or find neighbors or others you know in your community who are alone and check in with them. Make that your Lenten practice. And in the midst of that, two things are likely to happen. Three, really. One, you're likely to touch another life in a way that matters so much in these days. Two, it's likely to help you too, much more than giving up chocolate. And three, it will be about the most faithful response that you can have to Lent and to these days in which we are living, to reach out and love. May you know in these days that you indeed are not alone, that we walk beside you. May this be a blessed day for you and yours.